Hey folks, my name is René Enriquez and you are watching Uncensored.
This is René Enriquez. Nickname Boots. Black Hand of the Mexican Mafia. Prison gang politics.
Hey folks, my name is René Enriquez and you're watching Uncensored. Today we're going to do something a little different, folks. But before we do, I want to remind everybody to hype the video. Hype. It's so important. Also want to mention that we got memberships available. It's a way to support the channel. We have Patreon. And we have a website, www.realreneenriquez.com. I want to encourage everybody to watch the video in its entirety. It helps the channel. And it's all about generating watch hours, folks. The longer you watch a video, the more it produces. So, with that said, I want to talk about this document here. There were a few questions in the comment section when we were talking about 302s, right? There was a couple of episodes where they mentioned the 302, right? So I want you to look at this little number right here. Let's increase it. It's called an FD 302. It's from the Federal Bureau of Investigation, right? And each time that an individual sits down with the FBI and they have an encounter with a confidential informant, a shop attendant, anybody that they're gaining information or intelligence from, right? Could be Joe Blow. They have to create this document called FBI 302. And I believe it was in Perico, one of the episodes we did with Perico, that they mentioned Buckethead, George Bustamante. He was also mentioned in Cholo Mora's case. In fact, these documents here were found when a search warrant was served on the home of Cholo Mora. And these are damning documents for George Bustamante because it's been talked about for years that he's no good, that he's good. There's a side story to this that I'll explain during the way, but I want to show you a picture of George Bustamante right now. That is an older picture of him as he appeared in federal prison, right, when he was doing his federal prison stint. He's not to be confused with his father, George Bustamante Sr., who is still in prison. This is George Bustamante Jr., Buckethead from Venice. That's what his nickname is, made Mexican Mafia member. This is his father, George Bustamante Sr. Apologize for the grainy quality of this photo. It's the very best I could do. But here's another one of George Bustamante Sr. with multiple Mexican Mafia members. Each of them are identified, right? That's Black Bob Ramirez, one of the commissioners in the organization. That's Jose Caldera. This is the individual, Jose Caldera, where you see the hand cursor on his chest that eliminated China Boy from Artesia, Juan Arias, and that's Joey Martinez. This is at Lewisburg State Prison. George Bustamante Sr. is George Bustamante Jr.'s father. Obviously, he is not a made Mexican Mafia member. George Bustamante Sr. is not a carnal. Let me repeat that. But they often get them confused, and people often say that this individual here is a Mexican Mafia member. So, during the production of this document, the FBI went and advised George Bustamante Sr. that his life was in danger because this information on this document was disclosed. They have to. Federal law enforcement have an obligation to advise individuals when their life's in danger and afford them protection, right? Not a la Witness Protection Program or the Witness Security Program, but they have to provide them with some form of protection, right? Whether they be in an institution, having placed the PC or ADSEG, they are meeting their obligation, right? It's an ethical duty, right? But when they advised George Bustamante Sr. about this document, the document was about his son. They advised the wrong George Bustamante about it. And it was kept secret. His father didn't pull his covers, none of that, right? Which is understandable. Which is understandable. And I would assume that he thought that the feds were trying to get him to flip because they said it was him, or they were lying, or some nature along those lines, some ideation along those lines, right? But you know, George Bustamante Sr. has been talked about quite a bit. Venice, California, been a garden for a long time. I met him personally one time in White Fence. I met with him and he had an Asian girlfriend. They came in a black Jeep, I think it was. And I met George Bustamante with Little Mo Ruiz from White Fence. Little Mo Ruiz was distributing controlled substances for him. And I put Mo on my crew. So Mo had this obligation to him, and I told George that I was going to have Mo on my crew. Mo paid off George Bustamante what he owed him, and he was okay with it. I mean, I think we talked about some other things. I'm sure we talked about providing product. He was going to provide a large amount of product to me, and I told him, like, look, we can move it. If you can provide it, I can move it. And nothing ever became of it. But I remember George was wearing a black leather jacket, and the silk lining of his sleeve was torn. I remember, and it was hanging out of his sleeve. It struck me as odd, right? It struck me as odd, and he looked a little shabby. It was obviously loaded on the same substance that we were distributing, which is black and tarry in nature. But I remember meeting him, and he seemed okay to me, right? A little over the top, but he was a good guy at that time. He was in good standing still. But a lot of question came into play about George Bustamante down the line, right? That he was no good, that, you know, he was in the hat, that people were disappointed in him. And, you know, you heard Perico Rocha talk about him extensively, that he was causing problems with his crew, and they were having like deconfliction meetings, and he's been mentioned in almost every indictment at some point, right? At some, he crosses over into something, right? But it didn't come out until the trial. It came out in one of the recent indictments, probably about 10 years ago, when they kicked over discovery. In a trial, the prosecution has an obligation to turn over all inculpatory and exculpatory evidence to the defense, so that the defense can have time to review it and prepare an adequate strategy to defend against this material, these witnesses, this evidence, right? And in this case, they were obligated to turn over this information here, which was an interview with Maid Carnal and the FBI. I want to show you the hypocrisy in the organization, right? That Carnales can do it, that it's done often, that Carnales talked to law enforcement. I even did one on Joe Morgan where he testified, right? This is the norm. I've showed you videos where Mexican Mafia members met with law enforcement officials to watch my videos and have discussions with them about the potential for flipping. This isn't the monolithic organization that everybody perceives it to be, right? The all-powerful, the omnipotent organization. Because, let's face it, it's based on human behavior, right? We're human beings, right? And Mexican Mafia members are no different. They have idiosyncrasies, they have flaws, they have weaknesses. They're not all supermen. So this document here was kicked over in discovery in one of the recent trials in the past 10 years, but it names him right here. George Stephen Bustamante Jr., born 1952, California driver's license, interviewed at Los Angeles Field Office, LAFO, subsequent to his arrest. Present during the interview were Special Agents SAs Glenn K. Hotema. That individual was my first FBI handler. Glenn K. Hotema, great guy, astute on the Mexican Mafia. He knows everything about the mob. Or he did at one time, right? He was one of the best experts in the country. I remember he flew me down in a King Air. It was Lee Baca's King Air. It was a turboprop Air King, and nice little plane. And he flew me down from Pelican Bay to Long Beach, where him and Special Agent Dan Evanella from SSU, another FBI agent, and a whole slew of LASD guys took me to Long Beach, to actually Walnut, California, where they housed me for about 13 months. I was assigned as a CHS for Glen Hotema for about a year, I think, and found him to be a great guy, and still communicate with him to this day. Great FBI agent, dedicated guy, cares about the community. But this is this is when George met with him and Paul Keenan and Detective Christopher Brandon. Christopher Brandon from the videos that we showed you in the interview with Perico. He's been around for a long time. Los Angeles Sheriff's Department. Prior to the interview, Bustamante was advised of his rights by S.A. Otema, as stated on the FD 395 Advice of Rights form. After being advised of the identity of the interviewing individuals and signing the Advice of Rights form, Bustamante provided the following information. That is key. Bustamante provided the following information. Interviewers first played the call number 352 from target telephone. When asked if he remembered having this conversation, Bustamante indicated he did not. Interviewers then played call 2412 from target telephone 5. When asked if he remembers buying drugs from Cuba, defendant Mirko Rodriguez, aka Cuba, Bustamante grinned and replied, "I don't want to talk about that." At this time, Bustamante was advised that he and his father, George Bustamante Sr., had been placed on the Mexican Mafia hit list. Interviewers explained to Bustamante that the brothers, Mexican Mafia members at ADX, were unhappy with him because they all felt he was stepping on other members' territories and he was not kicking up money like he should be. Furthermore, the hierarchy of the Mexican Mafia and ADX feel that Bustamante Sr. is conducting himself like a member when he shouldn't be. Bustamante was asked if he knew why Puppet, known to be Mexican Mafia member Francisco Martinez, aka Puppet, from 18th Street, was upset with him. He indicated Martinez was not happy with Bustamante because Crazy Riders Street Gang belonged to Martinez and Bustamante had been collecting from them. Rudy, believed to be Rudy Beltran, aka El Night Owl from 3rd Street, met with Bustamante and told him that the brothers at ADX were not happy with him because he was stepping on toes. That in and of itself is providing information to the FBI, right? I don't care how you cut it, how you slice it, how you dice it. Buckethead was squealing, right? He should have just said, like he said in the first place, "I don't want to talk about this. I don't want to talk about this." Just like Old Man Peanut Butter, when he named everybody and identified them as members. All he should have said was, "I don't want to talk about this. I want to invoke my Fifth Amendment right. I want an attorney present." That's all you had to do. Bustamante, we're going to continue. Bustamante indicated he did not know why Emily, known to the defendant as Emily Vizuela, was arrested. Also, he added that she is not involved in anything and that all she ever did was beat up some girls for him. Kind of implicating her in an assault right there, right? She participated in the assault for the Mexican Mafia. He just identified this chick as doing that. Bustamante's supply of powder cocaine came from random paisas, Mexican nationals he met in bars around the Inglewood area. He would take them the powder cocaine to several different locations in Inglewood and rock it up for himself. Conversations of powder cocaine and rock. That's what they're detailing what he did with his cocaine and the information that he provided. Here in the next paragraph, Bustamante indicated he knew Loquito from the Avenues, known to be Joseph Escandon Jr., aka Loquito from the Avenues, although he did not know his real name. Escalon purchased drugs from Bustamante approximately 2 or 3 times. It was predetermined that a pizza was the equivalent of 4 ounces of rock cocaine. When asked about the evening when Escandon was stopped by police and had his drugs seized, Bustamante indicated that he provided Escandon with the drugs and wrapped them in plastic. He advised that he did not provide Escandon with a canvas pouch to conceal the drugs. Additionally, Bustamante picked up Escandon that night and drove him back to Bustamante's residence and provided him with another ounce of rock cocaine. Bustamante met Drifter from Avenues, also known to be James Campbell, aka Drifter from the Avenues, and Nito, known to be Neo Perez, aka Nito from Compton Barrio Tortilla Flats, through Escandon. Bustamante said he had several meetings with Escandon about putting the Cypress Park Street Gang on green light list, Mexican Mafia hit list. Bustamante was introduced to Rodriguez by Quick from Marijuana Locos, known to be Alex Manon, aka Quick from Marijuana Locos. Bustamante participated in approximately 2 separate drug deals with Rodriguez, each consisting of 1 pound of methamphetamine. Bustamante believes he paid approximately $19,000 per pound of methamphetamine. FNU, LNU, that means first name unknown, last name unknown, aka Boxer from Harbor City, and other individuals from various neighborhoods also provided Bustamante with methamphetamine. Bad Boy from 38th Street, deceased, known to be Lucito Rodarte, aka Bad Boy from 38th Street, helped Bustamante with problems within the 38th Street gang. Rodarte called Bustamante the day he was killed and told him that he was going to meet with Perico, known to be Mexican Mafia member Ralph Rocha, Perico from Barrio Noac. Later that day, Rodarte's wife, FNU, LNU, first name unknown, last name unknown, called Bustamante and told him that she was worried about Rodarte because it's been over 6 hours since she heard from him and he is not yet home. Shortly thereafter, Bustamante received a call that Rodarte had been killed. So you remember this specific incident, this Bad Boy incident. This is the guy that was at the tattoo shop that was killed, that was eliminated. This is that whole incident that Perico, we just seen an episode on this. We did an extensive episode of the debrief where Perico talks just about this incident. This is why it's important, because George Bustamante obviously provided the FBI with information on this, and this is not a secret. I'm not outing anybody. I would not do that. If I do have information on people that are currently Mexican Mafia members that I won't put out there because they're active Mexican Mafia members, and it's not known, right? Not that I have any compunction about putting stuff out on Mexican Mafia members. I don't. I really don't. But to place somebody in harm's way when they're not there, right? This is known to the organization already. It's not known to the general public, right? This is out there at Mexican Mafia. It was found in possession of a Mexican Mafia member during the search warrant of a house. So it's well known. The 302 goes on to say, Bustamante attended Rodarte's funeral wake and noticed Rodarte had been severely beaten. You'll recall that he was handcuffed and was beaten severely. Perico described this in the debrief extensively. Homicide detective Francis Hardiman questioned him extensively about DNA. Did he bleed? What was used? Where was it? What did it happen? This is exactly what was described in the video. So I'm giving you the corresponding documents. So this is not just pulled out of Perico's butt. He didn't just pull this out of the thin air. This really occurred. These incidents, these eliminations, what Perico's talking about is substantiated by FBI documents and corroborated by the additional Mexican Mafia members. So it's one thing for one person to say a thing, that the sky is blue, right? The sky is blue. That's what I'm saying. The sky is blue. And anybody could say that, right? But to have an independent source independently corroborate it at a different location, different time, is what's called corroboration, right? It lends credence to the fact, right? So Perico's debrief is being independently corroborated here by another Mexican Mafia member who's providing the information to the FBI. Bustamante heard that clown from 38th Street, deceased, known to be Efrain Olmos, and Payaso clown from 38th Street, was responsible for Rodarte's murder. Here, Bustamante's giving up the murder guys. Several years ago, Bustamante and Rocha had an argument over territory and neighborhoods, and they haven't spoken to each other since. Bustamante knows Cisco, known to be Rafael Gonzalez Munoz, aka Cisco from La Puente, but doesn't trust him because of his Gonzalez Munoz relationship with Rocha. Crow from Culver City Boys, believed to be Robert Heredia, aka Crow from Culver City Boys, is Bustamante's representative for the Culver City Boys street gang. FNU LNU, aka Black from Santa Monica, is Bustamante's representative for the Santa Monica street gang. Bustamante's representative for the Venice 13th Street gang, FNU LNU, was recently arrested by the FBI in an investigation related to the Shoreline Crips. Bustamante provided the aforesaid individuals with their narcotics to sell to their respective gang members and drug dealers. Sad Girl, known as Vivian Escamilla, aka Sad Girl from Tepas, collects money from Tepas street gang on behalf of Bustamante. Pursuant to this investigation, investigators learned that Jose Aguirre, aka Troubles from Bratz, Mexican Mafia member Anthony Garul, aka Tonito from Wilmas, and unknown gang member from Carson 13 attempted to tax a local drug dealer in Carson, California. As a result, Aguirre was shot and paralyzed. Garul was shot and killed. The unknown Carson gang member fled the scene. As a result of Garul being killed, Bustamante informed interviewers that FNU LNU, aka Popeye from Carson 13, met with Bustamante regarding the circumstances surrounding Garul's death. Bustamante is aware that the drug dealer's house was burned and believes the order came from within the Los Angeles County jail system. So remember this incident. This is Tonito, the Mexican Mafia member that paroled from the feds who went to this house. And this is Clowney from the Brats that went with him. Clowney was shot and Tonito was killed. Cypress Park was put on the green light list behind this. We had Tonito's calls with Tonito, the original Chorro the Mouth guy. Remember Tonito from Wilmas? He talks about this. I ran that call. It's one of the episodes that we have in our library. And then there are multiple other calls that reference this, but this incident in specificity results in another gang. Actually, it turned out that the individual who shot Garul was defending himself. He was never charged in the case. He was later sent to the feds on drug charges because he was a big mover of product, right? But he was never charged in the murder. And Clowney from the Brats is still serving a life sentence. In fact, he just recently picked up another murder I believe it was in Lancaster, if I'm not mistaken, on behalf of Ronnie Ayala. So, that said, this is all this information coming into play in one document, right? You've seen all these different calls at different times throughout the past 9 months, and it's all coming into play right here in this document. And this, remember I said it's interweaving and incestuous? All crews are related to each other somehow, and they all intermingle and intermix. This is the proof in the pudding right here, right? So, Bustamante communicated with Mosca, known to be Mexican Mafia member Michael Torres, aka Mosca from San Fer, while he was incarcerated at LAC jail, Los Angeles County Jail. Indio from 18th Street, known to be Victor de Los Angeles, aka Indio from 18th Street, helped Bustamante collect money from gambling machines that Bustamante acquired illegally. Bustamante would place these machines at various bars. Bustamante did not have control over 18th Street gang, but Bullet, known to be Gustavo Guzman, aka Bullet from 18th Street, paid Bustamante $400 to $500 each month out of respect. Bustamante understood that this money originated from taxes collected by Guzman. Guzman's wife, Cynthia Arias, and Sparky, known to be Jimmy Arias, aka Sparky from 18th Street, and Arias' brother, often delivered money to Bustamante on behalf of Guzman. Bustamante also dealt with Dopey from 18th Street, known to be Edgar Vasquez, aka Dopey from 18th Street. Bustamante put the Easy Riders street gang on the green light list for my mistake. He intended to put the Crazy Riders street gang on the list, but he did not know the difference between the two since he had been incarcerated for such a long period of time. Bustamante indicated he did not remember exactly what Crazy Riders did to be placed on the list. However, he did remember the meeting with Tricky, known to be Sergio Pantoja, aka Tricky from 18th Street, regarding the Crazy Rider tax situation and the accidental killing of a 23-year-old baby boy. Pantoja, let me stop the presses right there. They killed a 23-day-old boy, and they're not permanently on the lista. That's the hypocrisy of the organization. If they pay, they can commit any crime, right? They paid the taxes, they got off the green light list, because they're not on the green light list now. And that's an unforgivable sin, killing a baby, right? Killing a baby. And it's happened with a lot of hoods. We're going to go over that in another episode. So I'm just going to really briefly touch on that. But it's a reality. The Mexican Mafia, sometimes its associates kill children. And it's unforgivable. It's unforgivable. It's not a policy of the organization. But you see that it happened here. Bustamante met with attorney Guillen, also known as Isaac Guillen, from the past RICO investigations. He often gave Guillen money that was intended for Martinez. This money was obtained from the sale of illegal narcotics and tax collections. So they're talking about Isaac Guillen, who was indicted for being secretary to Puppet Martinez. He was an attorney. He went to YA. He blew his shot. We're going to be doing an episode on that as well, so I'll keep that brief. Bustamante extorted lunch trucks that came into the neighborhood. Bustamante described it as protection money. If these lunch trucks also showed drugs, then they would have to pay a percentage of the drug sales to Bustamante. Bustamante had one associate from Mara Salvatrucha street gang, FNU, LNU, that he used to provide security for these lunch trucks under Bustamante's control. Bustamante knows FNU, LNU, aka Spanky from OC, from Federal Bureau of Prisons, penal system. Bustamante loaned Spanky $5,000 when he first got out of prison. To date, Spanky has not paid Bustamante back. Spanky was deported to Mexico. And then the DMV image of George Bustamante Jr. is here. It's a very poor, very grainy picture. We have a recent picture of George being arrested. We're going to show you that. This is his fingerprint. This is an official document. Here's a better picture of George Bustamante Jr. He goes on to say, the Armenian Power AP street gang is claimed by Bustamante. Rocha has been trying to claim AP for the past few years because he knows they're involved in white-collar crime. It can generate a lot of money. Bustamante is aware that AP is now involved in the kidnapping of people and holding them for ransom. Here again, AP, a lot of people ask for AP stuff, OPIS, right? AP and Russian Mafia, and this is all coming into play here, folks. All the episodes are tied into this 302. All these past few episodes are tied into this 302. The subject matter we discussed and that Perico Rocha discussed, and some of the other previous wiretaps and episodes we discussed this stuff right here. And that's the reason I'm reading this to you, to show you that it's independently corroborated by an outside source. Here's the individual that Perico was just talking about. Bustamante met Pari, also known as Paramas Belistian, through FNU, LNU, aka Toy from Lennox. Belistian is considered to be the shot caller for AP. Belistian has never purchased narcotics from Bustamante. Belistian likes to smoke marijuana and is involved in white-collar crime. Bustamante was aware of the meeting with Lola, known to be Lola Yantada, wife of former Mexican Mafia member Jacques Padilla, aka Jaco from Azusa. Regarding Padilla's situation, agents know Yantada and others were arrested in December 2007 for conspiracy to murder Mexican Mafia members Rocha, Gonzalez, and Munoz. Bustamante purposely did not attend the meeting because he feared RICO investigations and did not have a good feeling about the meeting. Bustamante knew that the Mexican Mafia member Tony Palacios was going to attend the meeting. The gun in Bustamante's house belongs to Bustamante. He got it for protection against Rocha or anyone else who tried to attack him. And this was transmitted by the United States Attorney's Office to Defense Counsel. You know, so that last incident, Perico went through a lot. Jaco plotted to kill him, and he had his wife order the hit of him. In fact, they attempted to murder him. They attempted to eliminate him. And this was done by camaradas. This is what got Jaco in a jam. Jaco was functioning in La Puente, California. And that is literally Cisco's area. So Cisco and Perico took action. So you see all this information packed into one document, folks, that revolves around George Bustamante and all the information that he contained within him. He provided it freely and willingly to the FBI. He implicated himself in crimes, extortion, murder, illegal gambling, and assaults. And he did so for a purpose, right? I don't know what that purpose was, but we can all come to our own conclusion as to what it was. He's free today, and we can all assume why. But that's George Bustamante on the thumbnail, folks. Hope you like this little profile of a 302. We got some more. We're going to be pulling them out soon. With that said, have a wonderful day. Hope you enjoyed this episode. As always, be safe. Peace out.
This is René Enriquez. Nickname Bootser.